Tanse, hello. My name's Cooper Shay. I am a teacher and poet on Treaty 6 and Métis Territory, living in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, where I was born and raised. I am connected to the Métis communities of Duck Lake, Fish Creek, Prince Albert, Saskatoon, and then out in Manitoba in St. Ambrose, Portage-la-Prairie, as well as Winnipeg. Some of my immediate relations and last names are Fiddler, Henry, and Lamarand. So shout out to all of those places and to all of those beautiful people and to the wider Métis community at large. And a big thank you and merci to the Saskatoon Public Library for inviting me to do a reading as part of their Indigenous Spotlight series. I'm honored and humbled to be sharing this space with whomever I will share it with. So again, merci. So I'm gonna get started here shortly, and I may contextualize some of the poems, but for the most part I'd like the poetry to speak for itself. I think it's best to leave things up for analysis and interpretation, and to allow the listener and the reader to build a relationship with the poem, right? And to take with it what you will from where you are right now. So with that, I will get started. And the first piece I'm going to read appears in Urban Magazine's Indigenous Writers and Storytellers issue, which was published last fall. And the poem in here is called Silence. I place my index down and flick, like a reckless gambler at the VLTs, or a lost teen, a spinning globe, and an oath of wherever it lands. Stop. The lights go out, and a ball of sage bursts almost simultaneously with the world. Hey little boy, there ain't no magic, no Santa, just decay and cracks in the concrete. Celsius meets Fahrenheit as the alley cats ogle through frozen tears at one last blurred light ascending out of view, while the beach dogs watch it land in focus. I decorate the tree with saxophone keys laying fiddle strings like garland, horse enclosure in the form of a youth league hat where an angel used to be. I haven't given up entirely, but I have simply lost hope here. Pressing play on Dad's old cassette, I swim against audio-magnetic tape once joy turned sorry, turned grief, turned numb. Dugout dreams turn to dugout memories, lost identity to ambivalent reclamation, with skeletons in closets washing up on the seashores you run to. But home is a feeling we build from disorder. High season is over, the tide is out, the cats are thawed, hair's grown past tense shoulders, so marks time to take down the decorations. Wrapped in fiddle strings, I stand towards a broken mirror on a brick wall near Broadway. I could never play an orthodox, but if I rewind this tape, will you press record and tell me again about who I am? The next poem I'm going to read is from PRISM International's Sprawl issue, which was just published this past spring. It's really a pretty wild collection of words, and yeah, I guess I'm really stoked to be a part of this issue. So yeah, I had wrote this poem after I was walking downtown Saskatoon here, and I had my camera. I took a picture of a back alley, and essentially that photograph lent itself to what would become this poem. And it's based off a true story, pretty intense experience I had when I was younger. And yeah, I was thinking lots about contemporary urban Métis identity, difference in like worldviews and in terms of how different folks look at territory, right? So negotiating territories, borders, markers, and yeah, just kind of where we belong as a displaced people that are still fighting for land. So this poem is called Back Alley Romance. Here, the walls pulse with ancestral memory and generations of romantic happenstance. Here, we leave the dumpsters open. There are secrets here and you can know them all. It's a thrill to possess something you know you shouldn't. Here, have it. Back alleys like these blanket laps with urban purity and artistic catharsis. Forget dinner tables. Forget charcuterie boards and cheap Chardonnay. Forget Swiss fondue and strawberry cheesecake. Forget e-receipts. I am running with toothless dogs and my debt is a spiritual one. When the rain came, I felt the knots in my chest untie and bits of tethered rope fell from my eyelash into the Bow River. The thunder followed and I laughed so hard that rope came from my ear like a magician. I am still pulling the rope. There is no end in sight. When the mayor finally cut my rope like umbilical, I ceremoniously placed it in a dumpster and lit the fray. The sky glowed with glitter that night. There is litter everywhere in the streets and nobody is picking it up. Everybody is walking by. Almost everybody. Someone tries to pick up the litter and they are shot dead by police. Yes, litter everywhere. Everywhere. A ghost haunts the Yellowhead and they too are picking up litter. The Pisces moon that lights the land beyond limits watches as systemic abandonment makes way for inconsequential cleanup. A dog barks. The aspen grove takes notes. When I was 18, the police locked me in an overcrowded cell and gave me a toilet tank for a pillow. At sunrise, I walked the asphalt trail from Lumsden to Craven. I was barefoot. It was raining. I had a 360 in my pocket and there was litter everywhere. I screamed at God for the first time that day. She replied, "Can you see all that litter?" And I kept walking. I bent litter into shoes and kept walking. Cars and trucks and semis flashed their lights, but no one stopped. 4 stickers on the grill of an ambulance read, "There is litter everywhere," and I kept walking. Bloody footprints lay ahead of me and behind. I watched others carefully step into each print like tracks in deep snow. There was salt and blood and hair on the asphalt. The mixture had the prairie steaming. The prairie was steaming and everyone was waiting. Nobody was looking, but everyone was waiting. I kept walking. There was litter everywhere. I arrived at the front gate and a man told me, "Sit. We do not open for another 2 hours." A wide open field. How can you close a field? This field is hung over, vomiting chairs and couches and dirty diapers. I screamed at God again. She felt no obligation to reply. So I ran. I ran into the heart of the dump and took chase with Valley security. They did not have guns, but they had trucks and radios and generations of coloniality in their pockets. Do you remember that back alley? The one with all the dumpsters open, and there was love pouring out? I was thinking of that back alley as I ran through the valley. I was thinking, that back alley is more romantic than this. But I kept running. There was litter everywhere, and I was banned from the open prairie. This next poem was recently published in the League of Canadian Poets chapbook. They partnered up with the Saskatchewan Aboriginal Writers Circle Incorporated, otherwise known as Saucy. Shout out to Saucy. Much love to you and all the work that you're doing. Congrats on the chapbook, it's awesome. And yeah, I have 3 poems in this chapbook, and the one that I'm going to read from this one is a short one called Trembling Hands, Tracing Fingerprints of Trembling Hands. Like this, you say. But our hands, they are tremulous, and our colors, they bleed beyond lines. Very good, you say. Alright, so I have I'm reading a mixture of published and non-published. So here I'm going to read one of my unpublished poems. Again, it's a shorter poem. This one is called Stony, and a few summers ago I went up to Stony Rapids, and I was working a literacy camp up there for 3 weeks. And while I was there, I had a very close encounter with a black bear. And it later would inspire this poem. I started to think of that black bear as a symbol for love, and that brochure as all the lies you tell when you're in it. Since the year 1900, black bears across Turtle Island have killed a total of 61 people. Make that 64. This next one, again, currently unpublished. I wrote it for my sister, who I never got a chance to meet. At least not in the physical world. It's called Danius plexipus, which is the scientific term for monarch butterfly. From sky world to belly, ambulance to window, then picture frame, dreams, finally. A spectacular migration, yes, from flesh to scale, under egg-laying moon. We took it not as warning, but solace. I, still, embodied and fair. Alright, this next poem, I was thinking lots about the environment, and ecological devastation, and what it is that we can learn about living a good life and living in balance with the world, and what we can learn from animals in that regard. And I was just thinking about the state of the earth and the state of the world and just how ill our earth is. So this one's called Barrels Full of Boiling Medicine. 6 bundles of sage lie dormant at the bottom of 6 barrels. 28 moons pass. Rain finally falls the same night she left us to fend for ourselves. The sky cried and cried and cried while medicine buoyed towards the brim, fastening tight to internal thread. Our breath held in the bush, chests tight with trauma, before the leaves quake a reminder to exhale. Momentum swings, the winds begat the barrels to fall like dominoes. We shadow them into the horizon, swallowed by distance, crashing, swooshing, filling. Barrels full of boiling medicine colonize the Canadian Shield as minks and martens build rafts from the remnants of broken barrels and drift through weighted eye contact, towards a people subdued in medicinal sadness, with a smaller tub draining through the palms of their hands as if to say, drink. So we drank. This will be my second last poem. It's called The Gift Store Healer. Having burst into flame once already, it's not hard to believe the cliched promise of ardor, amare, or of a shape to lay claim to, is not what we thought it be, but a kind from the tangled webs of Sui, of Terra. Have you found disparity in caimans, in gators, or in the embers that call them forward? In lightning, in pyrotechnics, some 48,000 degrees of difference between prod and bloom. From quartz to prairie to quartz again, emerging from geothermal baths some 5,000 miles from the macaque. The tourist prunes trades polymer for crystal, scraped by electrostatic currents bearing freedom. And in one last hope to cleanse the fields of history, the body breaks open, says no one climbs a mountain with a gift bag full of stones. One last poem here, and it recently appeared in Grain Magazine's fall issue, which is the short grain, the contest issue, which I was honored to take third place in the poetry category. And yeah, so my poem appears in here. I can't really see it right now, it's getting dark, so I'm going to pull it up on my phone here, and I will leave on this note. So this poem is called The Decapoda and the Molting Moon. Submerged under intertidal weight, between intervals of day, Arifia lay eager for the hums of nocturne to lower midnight sun beneath a pastel morning. Will the moon bare her teeth and will this tide recede? Or is the moment still for you, Neptunus, brother? Is the moment still for you? Inhale here in epiphonal space to taste time beyond the Eocene. For when the tide retreats, here's moment becomes fossil, while skeletons molt under Luna's sky. Listen now, as Aretus climbs towards treetops, and the Cacarcinids begin migration to the sea. Concealed in dusk, Sasarma line the river's edge, with wagers on tide freed by abdominal constellations, clinging to a saline promise in a rush towards liquid bloom. Zoea, life here is but a gasp on the estuary. What is it to be held in hands that hold no obligation, to be chosen, held without condition, or to have stood as one at the edge of the world, to have sung in empty streets, piercing voids with echo, just to say we were here? But a fading reverb sundered bone under light's lost ambience. Adrift and unfound, at least you, not I, Neptunus, brother, for I have armed Linctus to control these fires, not gasoline. I see now that it is the liquid igniting mock ember, courage to pull ends frayed by time's bloom. Oh, but the fragility of brothers in a schoolyard named Dawn, where the hourglass shattered, smothered city and beach, bearing decapodal systems that swing in lunar rhythm, 12 meters from tide or granite, where Sasarma dance and rain lifts river accent ceremony in petrichor. May I gasp with our fallen and raise sacred smoke to the western door, only to turn my back and do the same come morning. Only this time an exhale, only this time in solitude, only this time the last time, only this time until the tide comes in. May I have this moment until the tide comes in. All right. That's it for my reading. So much gratitude again to the library, and thank you for listening. If you want to know a little bit more about that last poem, you can go check out Grain Magazine's fall newsletter. It's on their website, I think grainmagazine.ca, or you can find them on Google, Facebook, all that. So yeah, thank you for listening, and stay safe, take care. Marcy, Ecose. ¿Cómo estás?